by the time I finally did agree to the marijuana, I had hit the wall. You know, I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't getting better. In fact, I was getting much worse. The pharmaceutical medications they gave me put 120 pounds on my body, shut down my intestine system until eventually my large intestine exploded, and I ended up in the hospital for quite a while dealing with that. I found myself one morning just ready to end the whole thing. And for some reason, and I don't know why, maybe my kids, you know, I just thought, you got nothing to lose. So I called a friend. I said, you give me a joint? And he said, yeah. And he came over with a marijuana cigarette, and I smoked it. I felt a little better. And he left me a little. He said, why don't you take a little more? And sure enough, it helped. And it continued to help. And the longer I smoked it and the more I got off the other medications, the better my life got. Until finally, I was a fully functioning, returned member of society. Thrilled. You know, I started my company. I finished college and became a professor. Hasn't slowed me down much.
They have done some research on long-term effects. One of the first ones was Dr. Tashkin's study on, does daily use for decades cause an increased incidence of cancer of the lung and the respiratory tract? And to answer that is definitely not. It may even exert a very small protective effect. He found similar results with whole body cancers. There is no pro-cancer effect for decades of daily use. There may be a very small protective effect. COPD, they have tried numerous times to prove that marijuana causes COPD. It does not. The National Institutes of Health found that about 10 years ago. Another recent study said that COPD is not caused by cannabis, but it can be worsened by the combination of cannabis and tobacco. Tobacco has long been the main culprit of COPD in this country. In medicine, we're trained to look at risk versus benefit. And when you look at the risk of imprisonment and arrest and harassment, there are no studies that say that's good for your health. And so I think that arguably one of the major health risks associated with cannabis is prohibition. You can get arrested, you can fall in with criminal elements, and you can be fined and harassed and stressed. That's one of the reasons that I think Many Pennies Bill should be passed. There's a perception by many that legalizing medical cannabis will make substance abuse worse, that it will be a green light from the government and from the establishment to be as stoned as you want all the time. And I don't think that is a very realistic fear. There's very few people that are waiting to use medical cannabis for the law to change. This law will basically protect people from arrest and prosecution. I think it's going to be a good law. I understand people don't want more stoned drivers on the road. They don't want their kids swiping medical cannabis from somebody's medicine cabinet. Those fears are valid. I think experience in other states has shown them to be minimal concerns compared with the many social benefits of legalizing medical cannabis.
In my experience, the police were becoming like occupiers in communities. They were the enemies. They were the enforcers of these laws. And the people who were using drugs, a lot of people just thought these were unjust laws, or what the norm of the community would be, say, for example, smoking pot. I mean, I've had students here that say that they grew up in an area where throughout high school they never drank alcohol. The norm was you smoke pot. And so it's readily available. And when the police organized to crack down on it and crack down on users, this really disrupts the relationship between the police and the community. I mean, the police are the lawful authorities, and this is the institution that's supposed to make things better, and it's supposed to bring justice. And when the community sees the police as being unjust, picking this drug instead of that drug, and coming down hard on this particular type of person and not that particular type of person, that sense of injustice is what is disruptive in a community, much more disruptive than the drug itself. Enforcement has failed in two realms. Enforcement has failed. One is between the relationship with the police and the community has all but fallen apart in most places. That the police or the community doesn't trust the police. There's not a good relationship, and so little kids growing up, I mean, they in many places hate the police, and how that translates it to these things like the no snitching campaigns. So even when there's a real crime like a burglary or a robbery, that there's nobody really has a relationship with the police to talk to them about what they saw. In fact, it's dangerous to talk to the police in many places, because if you talk to the police even as a witness to a crime, to get somebody who victimized somebody else, that's looked down upon in the community. And all of that has been set up by the war on drugs. Now the answer from the situationist perspective, fixing the situation, is not to step up enforcement. It's to think of other ways of dealing with this issue. This is a social problem. We don't want people using drugs, ruining their lives and ruining their families. But there has to be other, more effective ways to deal with it. And I don't know all of them, but I know that what we've done for the past 41 years is not working. It doesn't work. And it's about time that we figure out how to take a step and look for something else.